Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. There is truly no end to the extent that today's Hollywood elite want to push woke identity politics into virtually every single work of fiction possible. But now it has gone beyond works of fiction because Jada Pinkett-Smith is pushing woke identity politics in what is supposed to be a non-fiction documentary on Netflix. You remember who Jada Pinkett-Smith is, don't you? She's Will Smith's wife, for whom he got up in the middle of last year's Academy Awards and walked on stage to slap comedian Chris Rock after Rock had briefly joked about Pinkett-Smith's alopecia by comparing her hair to Demi Moore's shaved head in the 1997 movie G.I. Jane prior to reading the winner for an Oscar. Months after the slap, she also freely admitted on her personally produced Red Table Talk Facebook video series last year that she had an adulterous affair with rapper August Alsina. But in the meantime, Pinkett-Smith has also been producing what Netflix is classifying as a documentary series entitled African Queens, whose first season followed 17th century warrior Queen Njinga, who ruled over Ndongo and Matamba, which were located in today's nation of Angola. Now, while I never watched that first season, the upcoming second season is supposed to be about Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt, who is more commonly known today simply as Queen Cleopatra. And Jada Pinkett-Smith and the show's director, Tina Garabi, have decided, without any credible historical or archaeological evidence to base it on, to depict Cleopatra as being black. Queen Cleopatra, who was born in the year 70 or 69 BCE, lived until she committed suicide in August of the year 30 BCE. She had become queen upon the death of her father, Ptolemy XII, in 51 BCE, and ruled successively with her two brothers, Ptolemy XIII from 51 to 47 BCE, and Ptolemy XIV from 47 to 44 BCE, and then finally with her son, Ptolemy XV Caesar, from 44 to 30 BCE, who was also known as Caesarion. Like her father and her brothers, Cleopatra was of the Macedonian Greek dynasty that had been founded by Alexander the Great's general Ptolemy, who became known as King Ptolemy I Soter of Egypt following the death of Alexander in 323 BCE. Cleopatra herself was of Macedonian descent and had little, if any, Egyptian blood, although the classical author Plutarch wrote that she alone of her house took the trouble to learn Egyptian and, for political reasons, styled herself as the new Isis, which was a title that distinguished her from the earlier Ptolemaic Queen Cleopatra III, who had also claimed to be the living embodiment of the goddess Isis. So why did Jada Pinkett-Smith and director Tina Garabi decide to depict Cleopatra as being black without any evidence? To begin to answer that, we have to go to an article in Variety that was personally written by Tina Garabi herself, and in the first two paragraphs, she wrote the following. Last summer, I was living in Venice Beach and had decided, due to a friend's persistence, to visit a fortune teller. Me, ever the skeptic but game for a laugh, agreed to go along. What the fortune teller said made me roll my eyes. I am not saying you are Cleopatra, but somehow you share her story and are connected. Less than a month later, I got a call from a production company making Jada Pinkett-Smith's African Queens, and was subsequently hired to direct 4 episodes of a drama documentary on the life of the controversial leader. She went on to write, I remember as a kid seeing Elizabeth Taylor play Cleopatra. I was captivated, but even then I felt the image was not right. Was her skin really that white? With this new production, could I find the answers about Cleopatra's heritage and release her from the stranglehold that Hollywood had placed on her image? Well, there's the first piece to this puzzle. Apparently, Tina Garabi believes that Hollywood is somehow responsible for making not only the general public, but also countless historians, archaeologists, and Egyptologists believe that Cleopatra was white, in spite of the fact that Cleopatra's heritage is already well known by archaeologists, historians, Egyptologists, and much of the general public at large. But claiming to have conducted her own research, Tina Garabi then wrote in the article, "She was no more Greek or Macedonian than Rita Wilson or Jennifer Aniston. Both are one generation from Greece." So Tina Garabi, as part of her convoluted logic, is conflating people alive today with someone who lived over 2,000 years ago. So I'm going to have to ask the question, is Tina Garabi a trained Egyptologist? Well, her IMDb bio says, Tina Garabi is a Sundance and BAFTA-nominated writer/director and showrunner, initially trained as a painter in the United States, later studying cinema in France. That doesn't sound like it has anything to do with Egyptology, and after searching more on the internet, I found absolutely no evidence to suggest that she ever studied Egyptian history. But what about Jada Pinkett-Smith? Does she have any kind of background in Egyptology? According to her IMDb bio, Jada Pinkett-Smith majored in dance and choreography at the Baltimore School for the Arts and spent 1 year at the North Carolina School of the Arts before dropping out to pursue her acting career. So it doesn't really sound like she studied much about Egypt or Egyptology either, does it? So with absolutely no demonstrable credibility with regard to Egyptian history, Tina Garabi and Jada Pinkett-Smith have taken it upon themselves to portray Cleopatra as black because, as Tina Garabi wrote in that same Variety article, "I realized what a political act it would be to see Cleopatra portrayed by a black actress." And there it is. This so-called Netflix docuseries called African Queens apparently has very little to do with verifiable history and archaeology. The show is nothing more than a political statement that's only concerned with pushing today's Hollywood woke identity politics by hijacking the history of an actual historical figure who, according to all of the experts who have spent their entire lives studying Egyptian history, wasn't black. Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek. So what do people think who have watched the trailer for this second season of African Queens portraying Queen Cleopatra as black? Not surprisingly, the trailer has been totally ratioed with only 27,000 likes and over 329,000 dislikes as of the time that I'm recording this video. And that's a dislike to like ratio of more than 12 to 1 against the show. And an Egyptian lawyer has filed a suit against Netflix in Egypt for portraying Cleopatra as being black. Mahmoud al-Samari accused the streaming service of erasing the Egyptian identity of Cleopatra in a legal complaint submitted to Egypt's public prosecutor on Sunday, according to local news agencies. The backlash comes after Netflix released a trailer for the docudrama series' second season last week. The Egyptian lawyer also alleged that content in the new season of Netflix's docudrama series violated the nation's media laws, and that the streaming giant was trying to promote Afrocentric thinking, which includes slogans and writings aimed at distorting and erasing the Egyptian identity. Those are rather serious charges if you were to ask me. Mahmoud al-Samari is reportedly requesting for Netflix to be shut down in Egypt, along with legal action against the streaming company for its alleged offenses. Jada Pinkett-Smith told Netflix's website Tudum that she, quote, really wanted to represent black women, unquote, with her docudrama series because apparently that's really all that matters, not actually representing historical figures accurately, which is what a documentary is supposed to do by definition. But critics apparently agree with Mahmoud al-Samari and contest that Netflix's depiction of Cleopatra as a black woman is wrong or fake. The well-known and prominent Egyptologist Dr. Zahi Hawass has spoken up and has emphatically stated that Queen Cleopatra was not black. And what are his credentials, you may ask? Dr. Zahi Hawass is honorary chairman of the Antiquities Coalition Advisory Council. He's an Egyptologist and former Minister of Antiquities of Egypt, a position he served twice. He is also the director of excavations at Giza, Saqqara, the Bahariya Oasis, and the Valley of the Kings. He has been involved in several important archaeological projects, including one which he led, the search for the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony on the premises of a Ptolemaic temple near Alexandria. In other words, Dr. Zahi Hawass is a respected scientist interested only in the facts. He's not part of the Hollywood elite, nor is he interested in pushing Hollywood woke identity politics. The casting of Black actress Adele James as the legendary ancient queen has angered Egyptians, where experts have argued she was of European and not African descent. Hawass has argued that Egyptians will most likely heed the advice of Adele James, which was to tell everyone if they don't like the casting, then don't watch the show. I can personally guarantee that I'm not going to waste my time watching it because it's fake. In an article that Hawass personally wrote on April 20th, he states, "The docudrama Queen Cleopatra, which purports to be a historically accurate account of the life and reign of the ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt in the 1st century BCE, will be released on Netflix on May 10th. The series, produced by Jada Pinkett-Smith, the wife of American actor Will Smith, has already attracted much controversy for the decision to cast Black British actress Adele James in the title role. Cleopatra was not Black. As well-documented history attests, she was the descendant of a Macedonian Greek general who was a contemporary of Alexander the Great. Her first language was Greek, and in contemporary busts and portraits, she is depicted clearly as being white. The evidence for Cleopatra's true heritage is overwhelming, and not, as Pinkett-Smith has said in defense of the show, highly debated. There are many words that could be used to describe the falsehood at the heart of this series, and headlines in newspapers around the world, from the US to Egypt and Greece, have carried several of them, including historical revisionism, cultural appropriation, and blackwashing. The protests are not motivated by racism. As the Egyptian lawyer Mahmoud al-Samari, who has launched a legal bid to have access to Netflix blocked in Egypt, has pointed out, this is outrage provoked by a form of cultural identity theft. That's right, folks. This is how Egyptians view what Jada Pinkett-Smith and Tina Garabi are doing by dishonestly claiming that Cleopatra was Black. Al-Samari has accused Netflix of an attempt to promote Afrocentric thinking, which includes slogans and writings aimed at distorting and erasing the Egyptian identity. As one talking head in the film says, "I remember my grandmother saying to me, 'I don't care what they tell you in school. Cleopatra was Black.' But as all the evidence shows, she wasn't. One need only look at the known statues of Cleopatra VII, such as the head of the queen that I and fellow archaeologist Kathleen Martinez found inside the temple of Taposiris Magna, west of Alexandria, during our search for Cleopatra's tomb. None of these statues, including the one we found, which was made of alabaster, gives any indication that Cleopatra was Black. During our excavation inside the temple, we also found a large number of coins bearing the face and name of Cleopatra. Again, not one of the depictions supports the decision of the producers of the series to portray their queen as Black. There is a similar lack of evidence for Cleopatra having been Black to be found in a depiction on the facade of the temple at Dendera, which shows her with the goddess Hathor and her child Caesarion, the son of Caesar. The only rulers of ancient Egypt who are known to have been Black were the Kushite kings, who ruled Egypt from 747 to 656 BCE. In other words, 600 years before the time of Cleopatra, with no ancestral connection between them whatsoever. So to the viewers of this video, you have a choice. You can either accept Jada Pinkett-Smith's and Tina Garabi's decision to portray Cleopatra as Black without any valid evidence that she was, or you can accept the known facts as presented by Dr. Zahi Hawass and every other Egyptologist who will emphatically state that Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek and white. Netflix is trying to provoke confusion by spreading an emphatically false narrative that the origin of Egyptian civilization is Black. Now, if Jada Pinkett-Smith and Tina Garabi want to present credible, peer-reviewed historical and archaeological evidence to support their claim that Cleopatra was Black, then the scientific community would be willing to listen. But guess what? They don't have any. What they do have is Tina Garabi visiting a fortune teller and deciding to portray Cleopatra as Black to push Hollywood's obsession with woke identity politics. And this is exactly what she admitted to in that Variety article when she said that she wanted to carry out a political act by portraying Cleopatra as Black. Netflix must be desperate if they're willing to stoop so low as to permit misrepresentation of actual historical figures and falsely call it a documentary on their service. Either call it what it is, a fictionalized version of Cleopatra had she been black, or a fake-umentary. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.